there's that tendency for you to like gossip, which you should avoid by all means. If you're like coming from a shift job where there's really no time to gossip really, and then now you're like in an office with a bunch of other people from different backgrounds. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, and in today's video we'll be talking about something that I know a lot of us experience, working 9 to 5. Although this may actually seem a bit straightforward, but there just seem to be a lot of things that people do not say about doing a 9 to 5 job. So let's dive in. So the first thing is the morning commute, and I know you may be wondering, but with every job comes morning commute. Yeah, I know that with every job you have to like struggle with commuting every morning, but having to do that every Monday, every Tuesday, every Wednesday, every Thursday, every Friday is a challenge for me. If you kind of do like shift work, you kind of know that, okay, if I'm doing 2 morning shifts this day, I only have to deal with the morning traffic, say just 2 days in a week, and then I would do night shifts. And you all know that when you do night shift, you really don't have to struggle with the early morning rush hour traffic. But with doing a 9 to 5 job, it means that every morning, like every blessed morning, you have to deal with the rush hour traffic, and that's actually like a struggle for me. Guys, this video will be about ranting about doing a 9 to 5 job really, and because this is like a new thing for me, I would actually rant a lot. So yeah, the morning commute is the thing for me, having to deal with. I live in the UK and it's not like traffic is like so bad compared to how it is in Nigeria, so I'm not even going to like pretend like, oh, traffic is so bad. But guys, it is still like a bit more in the morning than it is during the day. So yeah, that is something that I'm struggling with now, having to deal with that for 5 days in a week. It's a big deal for me. So the second thing I'm beginning to deal with now, and it is not a struggle because I've actually adjusted so well, I've adapted so well as well, so this is not really a struggle, but I need to rant about this too. It is the amount of paperwork and emails I have to deal with every day. Like, people doing 9 to 5, nobody warned me, nobody told me about the amount of documented. Obviously in nursing you do a lot of documentation, so this is not like new, like it's not like, oh, something I've never done as a nurse, no. But with a 9 to 5 job, which is more like an office job, you do a lot of writings, a lot of emails, a lot of documentation, like pretty much paperwork, and it is a lot. I would not say it is overwhelming. Like I've said, I really enjoy it, but it is a lot. And if you're considering a 9 to 5 job, like if you want to switch from a shift pattern kind of job to a 9 to 5, this is something you need to be aware of. Like the paperwork is definitely so much, and emails and all of that, it is a lot. And what's also a bit annoying with this kind of documentation or having to use a lot of softwares is the fact that all these softwares do a lot of updates every time. So you may think you know how to use the software, and 3 months down the line they do a bit of upgrade and you have to learn how to do how to use that particular software. I'll give you an example, which is the Outlook, which we use for emails. I mean, I've used Outlook forever. Even when I was a tetanus, I use Outlook. Even when I was doing my masters, I use Outlook. Like, Outlook is not a new thing, if you get what I mean. But they did an upgrade recently and I decided to switch to the new one, and before I could even get a hang of the new one, it took me like a day or two. Like I was still going to Google to ask where is this kind of setting. Like all the settings are already new on the old version, I was looking for them on the new version, and I had to like keep going back to Google to like ask for, oh, where is this located now in the new Outlook. So yeah, with different upgrades comes also having to like struggle a bit for like a day or two before you get a hold of the new the new software or the new upgrade or whatever it is. So that's a bit of annoying. Honestly, for me it is annoying. The third one, I feel like nobody tells you if you're switching from like a shift kind of job to a 9 to 5, is the office politics. And this is something very interesting. It is interesting. So in the theaters, you're like you're on your feet. Honestly, all through your shifts you're like on your feet really. You rarely have time to sit down, except you're having your lunch or maybe you're having a tea break. You rarely sit down. And I was in orthopedics anyway, so there was even no time to even sit down, if you get what I mean. Like, we're always like busy, always on our feet, always running around. Especially if you're like the circulating nurse, you're pretty much running around for implants, for instruments, for equipment. Really, you're an errand person. So in theaters, we really do not like gossip, if you get what I mean, because there's really no time to gossip. But if you're doing like a 9 to 5 office job, there's that tendency to like gossip or to be involved in gossip. And this is something I'm beginning to realize, and I'm becoming more deliberate in avoiding office gossip. Like at first it appeared to me like something normal, like we're just chatting, because we're all women, right? And we have children, so we have things to talk about, like children, blah blah blah. But over time I'm beginning to realize that there's still an element of gossip in it, really. So I am more deliberate about avoiding conversations that are a bit gossipy in nature. So this is something nobody warned me about. This is something nobody talked about, honestly, that with a 9-to-5 job, especially if you're sharing like your office with people, and God help you if you all are like women, there will be like element of politics, definitely, and of course gossip. Yeah, but the good thing about doing a 9-to-5, like especially being in the same work space with other people, is that you can actually build professional relationships, which I've been able to build with the people I work with in my office. They're amazing people, and honestly I actually love doing work with them. I was about saying I love doing life with them, but really I love doing work with them because they're amazing people, and I've been able to like build strong professional relationships with them. And honestly, we even go for hangouts outside of work, really. So I'm not saying they're bad people, they're actually amazing people, but I'm just saying there's that tendency for you to like gossip, which you should avoid by all means if you're like coming from a shift job where there's really no time to gossip, really. And then now you're like in an office with a bunch of other people from different backgrounds, and you talk about yourself, your culture, and other people, really, and the element of gossip just naturally enters the conversation. Another thing nobody talks about as regards to 9-to-5 job is that it is actually very exhausting. So when I was in theaters, even though it was still like a 9-to-5 kind of, it was I think an 8 to 6 job, or maybe 7 to 5:30. Honestly, I'm trying to remember my shift. But okay, I think I was in 7:30 to 6 when I was in theaters, and I would do 4 of that in a week, and the rest of the week you could just be on call on any of those days. Anyways, so even then I thought I was like stressed, I thought I was overwhelmed and all of that. Guys, I feel like with 9-to-5 you're more stressed because you're waking up every morning, having to struggle with obviously the commute I talked about early, and it just feels a bit more overwhelming for me. Obviously the job itself is not draining, it is not physically draining, but trust me, it is mentally draining. So that's something I tell people when they say, oh, but you do 9-to-5 now. It is not stress free, just that the stress is from another dimension. So as against having to be like physically exhausted at the end of the day, this time we're like mentally exhausted, and that's because you have a lot of screen time when you do 9-to-5, and that's something I'm struggling with. The mental exhaustion at the end of my day is just overwhelming. Like as I'm leaving the office, I'm like mentally exhausted. I know that I'm coming back to part 2 being a mom. You're like, that exhaustion is just one part. You're coming back to another part of exhaustion being a mom when you're back home. So that's something I'm maybe struggling with, but again, I'm not complaining. I would rather take mental exhaustion to physical exhaustion. Really, I would do well with being mentally drained than being physically drained. So another thing nobody tells you about a 9-to-5 job is that you cannot survive without having a routine in place, especially if you have a family. Obviously with every job you need to have a routine, but from my experience, I think now that I'm in research, especially like 9-to-5, I just need to have a routine. Like without a routine in place, my life will be a mess. And I'm just being honest. And when I mean routine, when I say routine, I mean my child must go to bed at a particular time. I must wake up at a particular time. I must get out of the house at a particular time. Like everything has to be planned, and there has to be a routine around everything I do, because if there's no routine around what I do, or if I don't have a pattern in place, trust me, I will not be productive, and my life will just be in shambles. My life will be in shambles, and I'm just being honest. So that's something I'm beginning to realize, that with a 9-to-5 job, I really need a routine. I can't just be like, oh, I will do this, I will do that. I really have to now I never really liked a digital calendar. I like writing things down. We have a board where we write things down, like our to-do list, but now I'm very big on planners, having to use both a physical planner and of course a digital planner, because that's the only way I can survive. And I've also realized now that I'm doing 9-to-5 that I just need a routine. That's just something I need to know. So that's something I'm struggling with, but I'm getting there gradually. Okay, so to the next. One thing I've also realized about a 9-to-5 job that nobody told me, and I should have thought about it but it just never crossed my mind, is the fact that as much as you want to remain private, like in your workplace you want to be private, you want to discuss your personal life with people, you really do not have a choice, and I'll tell you why. For instance, Well, I've always been, but even now I have more clinical appointments, like medical appointments, or let's just say hospital appointments, obviously because I live with endometriosis and that comes with a lot of baggages. Really, I have a point to make. So I have lots of hospital appointments. Now, for instance, if I do not want my colleagues or my manager to, I'm just saying hypothetically, they know, I never hide it, because you do risk assessment at the place of work and they need to know whatever disease you have. Occupational health needs to know, really. Anyways, so they know at my place of work that I have endometriosis because I've made it known, because I cannot hide it. And so I would have loved to keep it to myself. I don't, it's not something I would want to share with everybody, but because I do 9 to 5 and my hospital appointments come during the weekdays anyways, if you get what I mean, it's not like, oh, I have like, you know, like if you do shift work, you know that, oh, on Wednesday I'll be off duty, so I could plan my hospital appointment around my off duty, or oh, I need to take my son to the GP, I'll do that on a day I'm off duty. That's actually different for me now. So it feels like for everything happening in my life, I need to let my manager know. No, now I'm not saying my manager is nosy. They don't even want. So it's not like they want to know about my personal life, or they want or the people in my office need to know. It just comes naturally because they need to know. Really, I really do hope I'm making a point here. Like for instance, I have hospital appointment at say 12 o'clock on a Wednesday. Because I have to leave work for the appointment, they need to know. Whereas if I was doing a shift work, they don't need to know. Do you get? I could just take a day, I could just apply for a day off on that day and use my health duty for whatever I want to do. But in this case, I really have to like now update them. For instance, if my son is sick, he catches a bug and is ill and I need to like take him to the GP, because it's a weekday, I would have to notify them. Do you get? Whereas there's something, especially with childcare and children falling sick or falling ill, if you do a shift work, you can still work around it and nobody would even know that you have a sick child. But in this case, they just have to know. So it feels like I don't have a personal life anymore. Not like I don't have, obviously I don't share everything, but it just feels like I have to share a certain part of me that will affect my job. So I have to let them know about my hospital appointment, even about childcare arrangements. Like I've been taking excuses on Fridays, like I take my annual leave on Friday, and they allowed me to do that for about 5 months. Honestly, they are very amazing. They allowed me to do every Friday for the past 4 months actually, because our son goes to nursery Mondays to Thursday. But because it was going to come to an end, the grace they gave me, I had to let them know that, okay, because they were asking, so what would you do now that you won't have Friday, annual leave anymore? I had to now let them know that, oh, my mother-in-law will be coming in and all of that. What I'm saying in essence is there's some things that you don't naturally want to tell people, but because it affects your work and they have to know. So this is something I'm beginning to understand about doing a 9 to 5 job, that honestly you cannot keep secrets, especially when it's something that would affect your work. You cannot keep secrets. They just have to know, and they have to also know in advance. So it feels like whenever I get a letter and they post about my medical appointments, the next day I have to like let my manager know, or it's so. Anyways, I'm just ranting. So that's something that nobody tells you about a 9 to 5 job. Now guys, it is not like all bad. Like it is not all bad. There's several things that, even though nobody told me about my 9 to 5, like nobody told me about the fact that I would experience this in my 9 to 5 job, but I really, really love. And it's a fact that your work is like paced. So when I was like on the clinical side, you're just working. Like you just keep working and working. Like for instance, if I'm scrubbed for a case and I do not feel well, I have to continue with that case. Not like I'm mandated to, but you would want to continue with that case because you don't want to scrub out of a case and then someone else scrubs in and you have to do the count. The count we do as scrub nurses with the pet. It is too overwhelming. So you will just carry on. Even if you're unwell, you will just naturally want to carry on with the job, and at the end of that procedure you can take a break. Whereas in my 9 to 5 job, there are times I feel unwell, I can pretty much tell my manager I need to excuse myself, go for a 5-minute breather, just go and get some fresh air, just take a walk. Sometimes I just take a walk for like 5 minutes, and so this is something that nobody told me about it, but I love it. So it's not like all bad. There are also some perks to the fact that you do a 9 to 5. It means that, for instance, if you have to like use the toilet like in a hurry, you can pretty much stand up from your desk and use the toilet. Whereas if you're like in the clinical side and you're, especially as a tetanus and you're scrubbed, you have to be stuck to that. until the procedure ends. So that's something that I love. Like, so this is on the flip side now. There are still some things that I absolutely love about my 9-to-5 job. Again, another thing that is like absolutely good about a 9-to-5 job is the teamwork and the collaboration that you enjoy, because you have a lot of people around you. So the teamwork is just excellent as against when I was on the clinical side. There you have it, guys. These are some of the things that nobody tells you about a 9-to-5 job, and I really do hope you've enjoyed it. But again, like I've said, you just need to find your own routine, and once you find that routine, keep to it and stick to it, and you should be very, very productive as a 9-to-5er, like they say. So if you have other tricks, if you have other tips for me, really please drop them in the comment section. How can I be productive as someone who does a 9-to-5 job? Let me know in the comments. If you're someone that does 9-to-5, let me know how you plan your family life and how you're able to like remain sane, as a 9-to-5er with a family. So let me know in the comment section, guys. I need video ideas. If you have ideas of other videos you want me to do, let me know in the comments as well. So please do well to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.